Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce and Guns, and just about an hour ago, I heard this exact conversation at Walmart. Hey Darren, take a look at this. Take a look at this. This ammo, 230 grain, 230 grains of powder in that. That's got a lot of gunpowder in it. That's a man stopper right there. That will take an elephant down, no problem. What's that 9mm got in it? 115 grains? Pfft, that's nothing. That's like a gnat compared to this. 230 grain, man. That's what you want. 45 caliber. Okay. Well, I'll look stupid in that. Alrighty. I don't think I've ever heard someone compact as much wrong misinformation into one sentence as I heard right there. So let's take a look. Let's take some time and take a look and see what exactly do all these little labels on the ammo boxes mean. Here is a close-up of the label on the end of a typical pistol ammo box. Now, rifle ammo will be basically the same, but some of the terminologies don't correspond with each other. Let's take a look at the weight itself. The weight on a box of pistol ammo where it says 230 grain, that's talking about the bullet itself. Now, here's the whole cartridge. You got your primer, you got your brass case, of course powder's inside, and you have the bullet on the end. The grain is how much that bullet weighs. Now, when I say grain, that does not mean grains of sand or grains of powder or whatever, not individual pieces of grains. Grain is a unit of measure, just like grams, ounces, pounds, kilograms. On this particular label, it also says Full Metal Jacket FMJ, that's Full Metal Jacket, and RN. Well, Full Metal Jacket, let's talk about that first, the actual jacket of the round. And here's an example of Full Metal Jacket. That is an entire sheet of copper that is formed over a lead ball inside, basically. Here's an example of a 5.56 bullet that is also Full Metal Jacket. You will also see jacketed hollow point, which is, again, a solid sheet of copper that is jacketed over the lead bullet, but then the front of it is hollowed out there to expand when it hits an enemy or hits a person or animal or whatever. And here's one that is not inside a cartridge. That's a 40 caliber right there, and you can see it's completely coated. It's completely covered in a copper jacket except for the nose, which is opened up to expand, flower petal type expansion when it hits a solid object. Now, one thing you're seeing a lot of is copper plated. Copper plated is they form the bullet, the lead bullet, they form that, and then they electroplate like chrome plating, but they're copper plating. They electroplate a copper coating on the outside. It's very similar to a Full Metal Jacket, except for the jacket being very, very thin. I mean, like microscopically thin. So it's a lot more. It's a lot closer to being a cast bullet, a cast lead bullet versus a Full Metal Jacket. You have to be kind of careful with these because they do not, when you're loading these, they do not respond like a Full Metal Jacket. They respond more like a cast lead bullet. And speaking of cast lead bullets, I have a ton of them here because that's one of my hobbies, is casting my own lead bullets. But usually you'll see the lead bullets being used in 22 applications, 22 long rifle. Sometimes you will find lead being used in 38 special and 45 long Colt, basically a cowboy action style ammo. Now, one of the bullet materials that I have zero experience with is the frangible bullet. The frangible bullet it's something that's kind of new to the industry, sort of new to the industry. Militaries around the world use it because normally they are lead free, which means they don't have to worry about cleaning up their sights, because there's some military sights, some gun ranges out there that are completely decimated with lead, and it has lead all over the place, and it's actually become an environmental hazard. So a lot of militaries are going to this frangible bullet just so they don't have to worry about cleaning up of lead in their testing areas. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot one other, which is the soft point. The soft point, here's an example of that, is a Full Metal Jacket with a little bit of lead sticking out the front. So basically they jacketed the entire lead bullet except for the very, very tippy top. Now the jacketed soft point, they kind of act like a hollow point, kind of, sorta. The hollow points, they are made to get material inside and then be pushed open, versus the saw points here, typically they are on very powerful cartridges to where you don't need that open space to open up the bullet. The fact that it's going that fast, using a 300 Win Mag, that's got some energy behind it. So it's going to mushroom out because that when it hits that impact against the animal, it will mushroom out anyway, regardless of whether it's got the hollow point or not. As long as it's got an entryway, which is that softer lead in the front, it will mushroom out and cause a bigger wound cavity. Now, what about the shapes of the bullets? Well, that's where pistols get really interesting, because a rifle, pretty much you have a round end or a pointy end. Those are your two options for the most part. Now, the pointy end could be hollow point, they could be saw point, they could be full metal jacket, and all different types, polymer type of hollow points, all that type of stuff is there. But for the most part, you have pointy and you have round. Well, pistols have gone pretty much all over the place with how to make a bullet work best. Because pistols, you're trying to get a lot of work out of a very little projectile energy compared to a rifle. So a lot of ideas have come to play with that. First of all, of course, we just talked about it, the hollow point, which is pretty much the most lethal way you can make a pistol cartridge if you have enough energy. 9mm, that usually has enough energy. 40 caliber, that usually has enough energy. 45, sometimes a 45 caliber bullet is not going fast enough to open up, even with the pedals and whatnot. Now the ball ammo, which I also have a 9mm here, which is a ball ammo there, it's close-ups there. Those are usually designated as an RN, round nose, because it has a round nose on the end of the cartridge. Sometimes instead of a round nose, you'll see a TC, and that stands for truncated cone. And here is an example of a 40 caliber truncated cone right there. And this works really well. It feeds really well, and it leaves a really nice bullet hole in a target, which is why I use these in my target practice and my USPSA competition rounds, because it leaves a nice clean hole for the judges to look at and measure from. Very similar to the truncated cone is the semi-wad cutter. We'll talk about a wad cutter later, but a semi-wad cutter, there's kind of a gray area between a truncated cone and a semi-wad cutter. This is, you could argue either way with this right here. This is a 40 caliber also, and it's a semi-wad cutter, but the only reason is because that it's not a truncated cone is because there is a tiny little ledge right there when it's fed into the cartridge in the case. There's a tiny little lip there that makes it a semi-wad cutter. Now here's a much more extreme version. This is a 45 caliber right there. That's a very extreme version of a semi-wad cutter. Now if you're not super familiar with the semi-wad cutter, then you're probably asking yourself at this point, well, if that's a semi-wad cutter, what is a wad cutter? This is a wad cutter. That usually goes all the way into the case. This is something I use to reload for my Bazaar ammo for the Nagant revolver. Here's a wad cutter actually inside the case. This is a Nagant round, or Nagant revolver round there, and the bullet goes all the way inside. Now this is a factory one. This is not a reload by me, but I can reload them to look just about like this, except it's got a lead projectile inside versus a copper one. So that is a full wad cutter. A lot of competition people use that in their revolvers. A lot of 38 Special. You see a lot of 38 Special and 357 Magnum, usually 38 Special. 44, 45 Long Colt, they'll have wad cutters. Typically that is for a very accurate competition load, because it gives a very, very nice clean paper punch hole into the target. Now I could talk all day about this stuff, but this is just a highlight session of the things that I've got available to me right now in front of me, and what you're going to find in your normal Walmart or Academy Sports. So there are hundreds and hundreds of different types of bullets, different materials, different shapes and sizes or whatnot that I've not touched on, and some I don't even know about or heard about. So if you have any weird examples of bullets that you've come across in your reloading days or your shooting days or whatever, leave that in the comment box with the video, because I would love to learn about as much of this stuff as possible. I did this entire video with a light out. Huh, let me change that out real quick. I look like this with really good lighting. Can you imagine how ugly I look with normal lighting? It's amazing I'm still married. So you guys that have bought things through my Amazon store, whether it's something I actually have listed there or linked to or not, if you go through my Amazon store, go to Amazon and buy whatever you want to, you have literally helped me keep the lights on in the bunker. And I appreciate that wholeheartedly. There we go. Beautiful. Man, the light's a lot brighter. That's nice. It's going to help me out with my camera lighting and whatnot. Have to get that dialed in better though. Anyway, Guys, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you give me a like and go subscribe, a lot more is on the way. And if you have any comments, questions, or show ideas, leave that in the comment box below the video. And of course, you guys have a great day. See ya.